Less goon hailing expected.
Could go up. Nice. Nice, Amish. I know I missed a lot of
It is 8:55 a.m. Eastern on January 29th, and you are looking at a live view of the Falcon 9 as it awaits its targeted 9:07 a.m. Eastern Time launch from Cape Canaveral Air Force Station in Florida. Good morning from SpaceX headquarters here in Hawthorne, California. My name is Lauren Lyons, and I'm an engineer on our Starlink team here at SpaceX, and welcome to our live webcast of our 4th Starlink mission. To date, we have launched three sets of 60 Starlink satellites. One set back in May of 2019, another in November, and the most recent just a few weeks ago on January 6th. This network of relatively small but advanced satellites is designed to bring high-speed, low-latency broadband internet to people all over the globe. By design, these satellites will be able to service areas of the globe where connectivity has been unreliable, too expensive, or completely unavailable. For those of you who follow SpaceX closely, you know we successfully completed an in-flight demonstration of our Crew Dragon launch escape system about a week and a half ago on January 19th. This test was the last major milestone before we fly NASA astronauts to the space station for the first time on our Crew Dragon spacecraft later this year. This is the mission known as Demo 2. The rocket you see on your screen right there also played a role in these efforts. Specifically, this booster previously launched the first Crew Dragon spacecraft, minus the astronauts of course, and launched it to the International Space Station for NASA back in March of last year. This was a mission known as Demo 1. Now today we're going to attempt to recover this Falcon 9 first stage for the third time, this time on the drone ship Of Course I Still Love You, which is currently stationed about 350 nautical miles off the eastern coast of Florida. We'll also be attempting to recover both payload fairing halves today during using our two fairing recovery vessels, Miss Tree and Miss Chief. Woo. So we likely won't see those views live, but we'll provide updates on progress on that recovery as they become available. So we're continuing to count down to liftoff, but if for some reason we have to call a hold on today's launch, we do have a backup opportunity on Thursday, January 30th at 8:45 a.m. Eastern. But at this time, all systems are go for an on-time liftoff.
My name is Jessie Anderson, and I'm a lead manufacturing engineer here at SpaceX. Right now, we are looking at a live view of Falcon 9 on our pad Space Launch Complex 40, or SLIC 40, in Cape Canaveral, Florida. Falcon 9 stands 70 meters tall, and when it's fully fueled, it'll hold just over 1 million pounds of propellant that the vehicle will burn through in less than 3 minutes after liftoff. We prepped Falcon 9 for launch in our hangar at the base of the pad, and upon completing final checkouts, Falcon 9 rolled out to the pad with the Starlink payload and went vertical early this morning. The chief engineer held a technical poll at T-1 hour to confirm no significant issues, and launch director held a propellant load and launch go-no-go poll at T-38 minutes to ensure all teams were good to begin the fueling process. Falcon 9 has been loading propellant since T-35 minutes, and currently our rocket-grade kerosene, or RP1, is nearly fully loaded on the first stage, which is the bottom two-thirds of the vehicle that you see there on your screen. That first stage, which previously flew during SpaceX's Demo 1 mission for NASA, as well as the RADARSAT Constellation Mission in June of 2019, is responsible for accelerating the vehicle through the Earth's atmosphere to the edge of space with the help of 9 Merlin engines. Above that first stage is the second stage, which has a single Merlin vacuum, or MVAC engine, which ignites after the first stage separates. The second stage is what will carry the Starlink satellites to an altitude of 290 kilometers above the Earth's surface. At this time, second stage is fully fueled, and liquid oxygen loading is currently underway on both first and second stage. The stack of 60 satellites is safely enclosed inside of the 17-foot diameter payload fairing, which is the pointed enclosure on the very top of the rocket, and we've got a nice view of the satellites stacked up right there. These are flat satellites, so you can see that there on your screen. And once we reach the vacuum of space, we will deploy the fairing as the second stage continues on its journey to its final orbit. So far, weather is looking good during our launch window for an on-time launch, but we'll be keeping an eye on this all the way down to T-0. The Air Force range is prepared to support today's mission. Waters are clear of any ships, and the range continues to ensure the safety of our launch. The vehicle, satellites, weather, and range are all looking good for an on-time liftoff just a few minutes from now.
Today, most of your satellite internet services come from geostationary satellites, or GeoSats. A single GeoSat will serve a fixed but broad area and is typically placed about 35,000 kilometers or higher above the Earth. Now, one of the main drawbacks of that high altitude is high latency, or delay, in that signal that's provided because they're so far above the Earth. Starlink, on the other hand, is a constellation of multiple satellites that orbit the planet, but at much lower, at about 550 kilometers. Because of this low orbit, latency is much lower than with satellites in geostationary orbit. This enables Starlink to deliver services like seamless video calls that are usually not possible on other satellite internet systems. And because Starlink satellites fly in a global constellation, we can bring high-speed internet to places that previously had terrible service or no service at all. Some of the most exciting opportunities for Starlink are rural or remote locations where traditional fiber or cable just isn't practical. And Starlink can also deliver high-speed internet to locations where fiber and cable aren't possible at all, such as a cruise ship or an airplane. Building a constellation that can provide this level of service is incredibly challenging, but we are making steady progress towards that goal with every Starlink launch. And one quick note, during our last launch we mentioned that we were experimenting with a darkening treatment on one of our satellites. This is part of an effort to minimize reflections from the satellites that may be distracting to some astronomers during their observations of the night sky. It takes a few weeks for those satellites to reach their final orbit destination, so we don't have the results of that DarkSat experiment just yet, but we'll be sure to share what we've learned as the data becomes available.
We are currently a little bit over 4 minutes from liftoff, and Falcon 9 is now moving into the final stages of the countdown. At T-minus 7 minutes, engine chill began. This is where we allow a small amount of the super chilled liquid oxygen to flow into the Merlin turbo pumps prior to the full flow of liquid oxygen into the vehicle, and that's to avoid any shocks to the system. Liquid oxygen is also what's creating the white puffs around Falcon 9. We continue to load super chilled liquid oxygen, or LOX, into the stage until just before liftoff, and when that super chilled LOX comes in contact with the ambient air around it, it creates those white clouds surrounding the vehicle that you can see there on your screen. And just a few moments ago, around T-minus 4.5 minutes, the transporter erector retracted away from the rocket slightly, and this provides clearance for Falcon 9 to lift off. The first and second stages are both nearly fully loaded with 1 million pounds of kerosene fuel and liquid oxygen. First stage should finish prop loading at T-minus 3 minutes, and second stage at T-minus 2 minutes. At T-minus 60 seconds, be sure to listen in to the call out that Falcon 9 is in startup. This means that the rocket's autonomous internal flight computers have taken over the launch countdown. This booster has launched from our 39A launch pad, our Vandenberg launch pad, and it is now getting ready for liftoff from our Slick 40 launch pad today. The Starlink payload continues to be healthy. The Falcon 9 team is tracking no issues on the rocket. Weather is still looking good, and the range is green for launch. So let's listen in to the last few minutes of the countdown.
Stage 2 LOX loads closed out.
Ground gas closeout starting.
Falcon 9 in startup.
Ground gas closeouts complete.
LDs go for launch.
T-minus 30 seconds. T-minus 15 seconds. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Ignition, liftoff.
Vehicles pitching downrange.
Stage 1 propulsion is nominal.
It is T plus 45 seconds, and we've just had a nominal liftoff of our Falcon 9 vehicle carrying our Starlink payload on its way to its targeted orbit. In just about 20 seconds coming up here, we will be passing through max Q.
Falcon 9 is supersonic.
That is the maximum aerodynamic pressure that the vehicle will see, which is the largest structural load that the vehicle sees throughout ascent.
Vehicle is experiencing maximum aerodynamic pressure.
And we've just heard that call out from Max Q. Coming up next in about a minute will be 3 events back to back, starting off with MECO, or main engine cutoff, followed immediately by stage separation, and this is where the first stage separates from the second stage, and then followed by SES-1, which is second engine startup.
MVAC engine chill.
And we should be able to see all 3 of those events live on your screen. But right now we've got an awesome view looking aft on the vehicle with the Earth in the background. Now if you're just now joining us, we're about 30 seconds away from MECO, main engine cutoff, stage separation, and SES-1, or second engine start 1.
Probably what they're aiming for. What it smells like? It smells like fluff. Remember, you can get that marshmallow in a jar.
There's that main engine cutoff.
Engine cutoff.
Stage separation confirmed.
You can see the stage separation, first stage separating from second stage on your left screen, and on the right, second engine startup. That's that MVAC engine on our second stage. And there's that bright red glow on the engine. So now coming up in about 20 seconds is fairing deploy, and as Lauren mentioned earlier, we will be attempting to catch both payload fairing halves on our recovery vessels, Mystery and Mischief. It will be unlikely that we will see these live on the webcast, so we'll bring you updates as they become available. But you can also check into our social media for updates as well.
Fairing separation confirmed.
And there's that call out for fairing separation. There's fairing deploy. You can see that on your right screen. Those fairing halves are now making, you can see that on your screen actually, the fairing halves are making their way back to Earth, and hopefully we can catch those on our recovery vessels.
AOS Bermuda.
Okay, so we have on both sides of your screen here, we got stage 1 on the left and stage 2 on the right. So a lot of really cool stuff coming up all at once or in rapid succession here in the next few minutes. On the left side, what we're going to see on the stage 1 side of things is at about T plus 6 minutes and 24 seconds, more or less, you're going to hear the call out and hopefully visually see the stage 1 entry burn. That's where we reignite 3 of those Merlin 1D engines. And that allows the first stage to slow down as it re-enters the upper part of the Earth's
Stage
atmosphere.
2 is on a nominal trajectory.
All right, as you just heard, stage 2 is on a nominal trajectory. That's really cool. Meanwhile, stage 1 is coasting down, getting ready for that entry burn. That burn's going to last just under 20 seconds. After that entry burn, stage 1 will continue to coast down towards the drone ship. And at about T plus 8 minutes or so, you're going to hear the call out for the landing burn. That is where we reignite a single Merlin 1D engine, that center engine E9, and that slows the vehicle down to 0 velocity. And hopefully you'll see a cool image of it standing right up on the drone ship. Meanwhile, stage 2 continues to perform nominally, wherein that MVAC is at full power. Now, right after the stage 1 landing, about 20 seconds later, you're going to hear the call out for SECO 1, that's second engine cutoff 1. That is where we cease to burn the second stage engine and takes us into our first coast phase. That stage 2 engine is burning with more than 200,000 pounds of thrust as it takes that stack of 60 Starlink satellites to its first parking orbit.
Stage 1 entry startup.
All right, you see that entry burn as it started. So we lost the image, but hopefully it'll come back. That entry burn was just under 20 seconds long. Meanwhile, stage 2, as you
Stage
can
1
see,
entry shutdown.
stage 2 continues to burn, and we just heard the call out that the entry burn on stage 1 has concluded.
Stage 2 continues on a nominal trajectory.
So we're a little bit under a minute from the landing burn start. Meanwhile, stage 2, as you just heard, continues on a nominal trajectory.
Stage 1 transonic.
In just under 15 seconds, stage 1 should start that landing burn. Hopefully
Stage
we'll
1
get
landing
that camera
startup.
back. Right, that landing burn is currently going. Unfortunately, we don't have the video from the vehicle, but we do have the drone
Stage
ship
1
video.
landing light deploy.
Stage 2 is in terminal guidance.
All right, and yes. Awesome. That's the third landing of this booster. Second time landing on, of course, I Still Love You.
Falcon 9 has landed. Operators, please proceed
Very
into
cool.
D plus
And
11.100.
any second now, we should be seeing SECO 1. That is where that second stage engine will cut off. Got that animation there, but let's still listen out for the call.
Back shutdown.
All right, as you just heard, second engine shut down.
LOS Cape expected.
And we got confirmation that we're in a good orbit. All right, so we're now going to enter a coast phase. So we're going to
Nominal
take a quick
parking,
break.
orbit
but
insertion.
We'll be leaving you with an animation that shows where we are in the coast phase, and we'll be back at about T plus 45 minutes for a second stage relight, followed by another brief coast and then payload deploy. Hopefully we'll be able to bring you that payload deploy live on the webcast, so we'll see you back here in just over 35 minutes.
AOS Newfoundland. OS Bermuda expected. AOS Newfoundland expected. AOS Goon Hilly. Goon Hilly expected.